This happened to me. I didn't cause this. I didn't do it. This happened to me, and it can happen to anybody.
The Sean Diddy Combs trial has started, and I told you that I would give you an update when it's pertinent. So a lot of things have happened today, including they have chosen the 12 jurors that will decide Diddy's fate.
Everyone knew he was the devil. He's been the devil for 30 years. He's been covered and protected by not only Clive Davis, but Lucien Grange.
Diddy's lawyers had argued that he had made good faith efforts by showing up in New York, ready to surrender to face these charges, but prosecutors said that he could not be trusted, that he has a history of trying to intimidate witnesses, including some who are going to be witnesses in this case.
She was saying that she wanted to get her phone, her bag, she wanted to leave. But Combs told her, "You're not going to leave." The second witness today was an escort testifying that he participated at a freak-off at the Gramercy Park Hotel.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs back behind bars, a magistrate judge denying him bail, saying that there were no conditions that she could conceive of that would make her confident that he would appear again for other court appearances. The judge saying, "My concern is this is a crime that happens behind closed doors."
The decision guarantees Combs will face trial beginning just 4 days from now that will test whether one of music's most prolific figures used his power, wealth, and fame to exploit both women and men for decades.
Sean P. Diddy Combs' family arrived for day one of his trafficking trial.
How is your father feeling today?
They walked into the federal courthouse in Manhattan, hand in hand, in a gesture of solidarity.
He set the tone by immediately as the first witness taking jurors back to 2016. It was March 5th when Flores said he responded to a call from hotel staff of a woman in distress on the 6th floor.
The last hearing before Sean Combs' trial starts, when he walked into federal court today, he appeared to be looking for his family. They've pretty much been at all of the hearings that I've been to, but there was no presence of his sons or his mother or his sister who had previously been at those hearings.
This isn't just a rumor, it's not clickbait, and it's not some celebrity gossip YouTube video dressed up in courtroom drama. What you're about to hear is pulled straight from a federal case. Sealed depositions, redacted evidence, and a name no one expected to surface. Rihanna Fenny. For 9 days, her name wasn't mentioned once. Not in the filings, not in the whispers, not even in the press leaks. But when it finally did appear, the entire courtroom froze. The judge asked for order, the gallery leaned in, and the prosecution read from a document that hadn't seen the light of day since 2023. Ms. Fenty, written deposition, admitted into evidence.
Now, as far as jury selection goes, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that both sides expect to have all of this done in the matter of 3 days. Now, given just how high profile this trial is, I was kind of stunned that they seem very confident that they will be able to seat a jury in that amount of time.
What followed wasn't just a testimony, it was a map, a pattern, a red thread that tied Rihanna to something deeper, darker, and more systemic than anyone dared admit publicly. A house that wasn't just a party venue. A list that wasn't just a guest log, and a room, a red-lit room, that has haunted her career for over a decade. She left early, but she didn't leave untouched, and now she's finally telling the world why. It wasn't a press conference, it wasn't a headline, it was a piece of paper, handwritten, faded, and nearly forgotten in an old archive tied to Rihanna's early management. Dated March 28, 2009, just weeks after her most public trauma.
We have the latest from federal court in the Sean Combs criminal case. Status of jury selection, what Diddy's going to be wearing, violation of a gag order, rejecting a plea offer.
It began with 5 chilling words. I said no. He didn't like that. According to the prosecutor, the letter wasn't meant for legal eyes. It was personal, likely never intended to be read aloud in a courtroom. But on day 9th, it became the turning point. She wrote about being invited to an exclusive after-hours gathering in Encino, told it was just a music salon. No red flags at first, but when she arrived, everything felt off. Phones confiscated, NDAs signed at the gate. A woman in gloves, bleach and perfume in the air. Then came the room, dim, cold, silent, a clipboard on a table.
For it to go so fast, for a federal trial to finalize a jury, do the strike process, and there was a little contention about that. The defense argued that they struck 7 of 9 black jurors, so there was a bit of a disagreement about that.
She looked. Her name was on it. third on the list. She hadn't signed anything. A man entered, smiling, calm. "You don't have to do anything you don't want to, but if you leave now, you don't come back." She left. She didn't tell anyone, until now. Because that night was never about music. It was a test. She wasn't famous, she wasn't rich, she wasn't on stage. But she carried the kind of guilt that doesn't fade with time. Identified in court documents only as AR, Rihanna's former assistant submitted a sworn affidavit that would shake the room all over again. "I gave her the invitation," she wrote. "I've never forgiven myself."
The first witness, former Intercontinental Hotel security guard Israel Flores, testified about responding to that now infamous incident, speaking with Combs and his ex-girlfriend, a key witness in this case, Cassie Ventura.
AR had worked with Rihanna from 2008 to 2012, wardrobe coordinator, travel logistics. Just another trusted name in the background, but in 2009 she was handed a sealed envelope at Bad Boy's media office with one instruction: deliver it to Robin personally. She said she was told it was for a creative energy reset, a quiet artist salon. No cameras, just connection. She believed it, until Rihanna came back the next day, silent, shaken, and distant. She wouldn't talk. She wouldn't look AR in the eye. She simply asked her to tell the press she was sick. That was it. And AR did as she was told. She stayed quiet for 5 years. But what shattered her wasn't what happened that night. It was what came later. A chilling email and a photo of a list she couldn't explain, with Rihanna's name printed clearly across it. 5 years passed. Fenty was rising. Rihanna had become more than a pop star. She was a global brand. Fashion, beauty, music, power.
Did the check, did he ever make $1 million deposit from anybody in the record business? Puff was friends with Jimmy Hinchman.
But in 2014, something from the past clawed its way back into her present. It started with an email. No subject line, no signature, just 7 words. "We remember everything. Don't rewrite history." Attached was a single photo. Not of Rihanna, not of an event, but of the clipboard. The same clipboard she mentioned in her 2009 letter. The one with first names and stars, blurred except one name, Fenty. The email hit like a ghost. No context, no warning, just a reminder. AR panicked. She forwarded it to Rihanna's team. Legal advised her to ignore it, but she couldn't. Instead, she opened a journal she had kept from those early years.
This is going to be such a massive trial, like maybe the biggest Hollywood trial. God knows which way it's going to go. Is it going to go on for weeks?
For sure, weeks.
And found an entry Rihanna had scribbled in 2010, a page no one had ever seen before. Its title, "The Night They Tried to Brand Me." Rihanna's words were clear. "I wasn't a person to them. I was a product, a body, an opportunity. I was supposed to play along or disappear." And suddenly the silence made sense. The fear had never left. It had just gone quiet until now. By 2015, Rihanna had rebuilt her empire. On the outside, everything looked untouchable. Sold-out tours, fashion week appearances, billion-dollar brands, but behind closed doors, she was still being watched, still being reminded.
At trial, Combs will ditch the jail garb and wear ordinary clothes. As his lawyers argue, the evidence shows consenting adults being intimate in their own way.
The prosecution introduced Exhibit 19D, a voicemail, dated June 12, 2015, pulled from Rihanna's private archive during an unrelated privacy case. She hadn't answered the call. She didn't recognize the number, but she saved the message. The voice, male, calm, American, no threats. Just a soft-spoken reminder. "You left early once. Don't leave loud." Then a second voice, faint but clear in the background. "Tell her to stop saying red. It's not her word." The courtroom sat in stunned silence. No one breathed. The judge ordered the audio sealed, but the damage was done. 6 days after that call, Rihanna wrote a journal entry. The prosecution projected the final line on screen.
That was all the people that went to the Puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Got punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man.
If I vanish, it started there. That room, that list, that scent. She wasn't being paranoid. She was being targeted. And the red light, mentioned by Cassie, by Zendaya, and now by Rihanna, was no longer just lighting. It was a symbol, a warning, a code. And the machine she walked away from had never really let her go. Sometimes the scariest threats don't come with a name, they come with a schedule. During rehearsals for Rihanna's 2016 anti-tour, her team recovered a handwritten calendar from a backup wardrobe trailer titled Track Days, Blackout Days, Internal Only. It detailed fittings, lighting cues, travel blocks, and set designs. But something didn't add up. Certain days were circled in red ink, marked with a small X beside them. When asked, Rihanna's tour manager testified under oath, "Those weren't our markings. I didn't write them, neither did she." One of those marked days was April 3, 2016, and what happened next would haunt her entire team. Backstage, a man appeared. Not security, not staff, but wearing a Bad Boy Records credential. When Rihanna asked who cleared him, he simply smiled and said, "I'm just here to check the lighting. You've got a special guest window coming up." Then he vanished into the loading dock. No one ever confirmed who approved him. The next day, a report was filed. Unauthorized breach, no theft, but staging had been tampered with. A mic unplugged. A spotlight, specifically the red light, was repositioned to face her directly during a key moment in the set. That moment was quietly cut from the show. This wasn't paranoia. It was protocol. After the backstage breach, Rihanna began traveling differently. More staff, more legal eyes, tighter security. Not out of superstition, but survival. Because the red lighting, the clipboard, the man with the badge, none of it felt random anymore. It felt coordinated. In a private voice memo from late 2016, entered into evidence as Exhibit 19L, Rihanna speaks candidly, not to the public, but to herself. "Somebody still has access. Someone who thinks I'm still in the system. I'm not. I left. Why do they keep trying to remind me what I walked away from?" That memo was never meant to be played in court. But when the prosecution read it aloud, it echoed like a warning. This wasn't a one-time encounter. It was a network, a machine, a memory that wouldn't stop replaying itself in gifs, lighting cues, and anonymous intrusions. Her legal team confirmed that from 2017 onward, every private event Rihanna attended required advance legal review. Not because of contracts, but because of fear. Because once you see the list, once you know the rules, they don't forget you. They just wait for you to come back. It was never supposed to be public. It wasn't meant for court, but it ended up there anyway because Rihanna wanted it to be heard. Exhibit 19N was a redacted transcript of a phone call from July 2020 between Rihanna and another female artist. Her name was withheld from the record, but the court confirmed she had once been mentored by Diddy, had vanished from music over a decade ago, and hadn't released a single track since. The transcript opened with Rihanna's words, "You were there too, weren't you?" The reply came slow and steady, "Yes." Then Rihanna asked the question that had haunted her for years. "Why didn't you ever say anything?" And the answer broke the room. "Because I didn't leave." That silence said everything. One woman escaped. The other stayed. One ran from the red room. The other surrendered to it. Then came the most devastating line. "You didn't give in. That's why they kept trying to get you back." It wasn't just about fear. It was about defiance. Rihanna walked out once, and that was enough to make her a threat. And now even the ones who stayed were warning her, "You were never supposed to leave." A documentary, a moment of truth, and a final cut that changed everything. Rihanna's 2021 Fenty documentary had been set to include a powerful segment titled Industry Control, The Cost of Saying No. It was her idea, her words, her story. But days before release, the footage was pulled. Streaming execs said it was too disruptive to brand identity. Not her brand, theirs. Rihanna didn't fight it. She simply said, "Cut it." Because by then she understood the real machine wasn't just what happened in the red room. It was the silence that followed. The control is disguised as strategy, the contracts that came with strings, and this time, she refused to be handled. Legacy, loyalty, luxury. That was the theme of an ultra-private industry gala scheduled for late 2022. No media, no press, just a room filled with power, and one name printed as the headlining guest, Rihanna. She never confirmed her appearance. She never gave a yes. But somehow, her name still appeared on the official run of show, not for a performance, but for a tribute, a celebration of her success, and, as the prosecution argued, a carefully disguised attempt to pull her back in. The night before the event, Rihanna's team quietly withdrew without explanation. No press release, no statement, just a direct message to organizers she wouldn't be coming. Behind the scenes, she told her security team, "If I walk into that room, it's not networking, it's surrender." That same night, during a Fenty rehearsal shoot in Paris, a man appeared backstage. Not on staff, not cleared. He handed off a small black box and vanished before anyone could stop him. Inside, a red scarf, a pair of sunglasses, and a card that read, "Unfinished business, rooms still waiting." It wasn't a threat. It was a reminder, a message from the machine. We haven't forgotten you. We're still watching. Rihanna never held a press conference, never named names, never played victim. She didn't need to. Her words, sealed, scribbled, whispered, spoke louder than any headline. This wasn't about fame. It was about survival. She didn't just walk away from a party. She walked away from a system, a machine, and it never forgave her for it. But she didn't back down. She opened the door and left it wide for the next girl who needs to run, because silence isn't strength, and survival isn't surrender. She didn't just survive the machine, she exposed it.